The Collectors. Chapter 7. The C.C.C. was a large, sprawling building set in a half-circle, claiming an entire city block as its own. Also, it was not called the C.C.C. It was called the Edgewood and Walker Community Center. He knew it well, as it was the place that his parents used to make him spend his summers, when he was freed from school for 3 months, but they were still tethered to their jobs. Though that had stopped 3 years ago when he had begun to see ghosts, and noticed that there were far too many dead wandering around the community center grounds. Which, of course, made perfect sense now. Doug led him around the end of the building, away from the main entrance to the far side of the parking lot. Remi spared another glance down at the girl in his arms. She weighed little more than a cotton-stuffed pillow. He could almost forget that she was in his arms at all, except for the way she would press her face into his chest as she continued to struggle with her tears, and how her legs, slung over his forearm, would sway with his each step. Doug stopped before a door, a sign bolted to it that read "Employees Only." There was a card reader on the wall beside the handle. Doug pulled out his phone and held it to the scanner. The machine beeped, and the door clicked, allowing him to tug it open. Remi followed the older man in without hesitating, registering very little as they made their way down 1 or 2 hallways before Doug pushed open another door and waved Remi in ahead of him. Opposite where he stood, the entire length of wall was made up of 4 large, deeply receded windows. Well-padded benches were built into the wall just below each window for extra seating. Remi took a few steps into the space, eyes sweeping the furniture in the room. There was a scattering of tall tables and chairs, floor cushions and rugs, and even a couple of low-slung tables with legless chairs pushed beneath them. Remi turned to face Doug once more as he heard the door close. Other than the door and its frame, this wall was lined with dozens of metal shelves nailed into it, each silver plank brimming with books. Doug moved through the room with familiarity, winding around tables and chairs, hopping over cushions as he made his way to the end of the book wall.
"You can set her down on the window seat,"
Doug told him. Remi followed the direction as easily as he had followed everything Doug had said for the last few minutes. But as he approached one of the benches, Lucinda shifted in his arms, turning into him and wrapping her nothing arms around his neck. Remi paused. He felt like he should fight this moment, but he had no fight left in him. Instead, he turned and sat himself on the seat, allowing the girl to curl more firmly around him, huffing quiet, wet breaths against his cheek. Well, at least she wasn't sobbing anymore. Remi watched as Doug searched the shelves for a quick few seconds before pulling a book free. Doug made his way over to Remi and tossed the book onto the bench beside him. Remi barely had the energy to do more than look at the book and then back at Doug with a questioning shake of his head.
"You asked if there was a book,"
the other man said as he hoisted himself onto one of the tables directly across from where Remi was sunk into the window seat.
"This is the book."
Remi's gaze shot to the book once more, because of course there was a book, hidden away in a secret room in the freaking community center. Again, Remi felt like he should be feeling something more than a hollow acceptance at this news, but could muster nothing. The book wasn't hardbacked, but rather covered in some soft, blue-colored fabric, maybe leather or something. There was no writing on the cover itself, but the spine was visible, and the title was embossed in bold black lettering. The Building Blocks of the Work: Faring, Collecting, and Crossing in the Modern Age. Volume 1. Of course. Remi shifted farther back on the bench so he could lean against the window pane. He shut his eyes as the back of his head settled against the glass. Relief. He noted that he should have been feeling relief. However, there was nothing in him but silent forfeit.
"What, not even a thank you brick?"
Remi didn't bother opening his eyes when he responded. "Does this book tell me how to get rid of her?" The spirit against his chest whimpered at his question. Remi rested a hand against her back and rubbed comforting circles into it. "Sorry," he murmured.
"No, that'll be covered in volume 3. This one will do wonders for your bedside manner, though."
Remi didn't respond to that, just kept his eyes closed and his head pressed against the glass.
"Nothing to say?"
Doug asked, to which Remi could only shrug.
"Gotta say, not sure if I like this version of you any more than the one I met on the street."
Another shrug. Remi heard the man sigh, and then a short silence followed.
Okay, kid. You have more questions. This is the time to get them answered.
What other questions even mattered? Remi wondered to himself. He would always be this, living this life. He hadn't even realized that he had harbored a hope that he could somehow find a cure to this until it had been crushed under Doug's earlier pronouncement. Remi's phone began to vibrate in his pocket. He shifted to the side to pull it out. His dad was calling him. Remi blinked at the caller ID for a second before tossing the phone down onto the cushion beside the book. He was just going to pretend that this wasn't his life for a little bit. There was another lull of silence in the room before Doug made a sound of frustration.
Okay, fine. You win.
Remi opened his eyes as he felt the seat next to him depress, looking in surprise at Doug.
Look, I'm gonna ask you some questions, but this does not mean I'm accepting responsibility of you. You will still be required to link yourself to a master. Got it?
Remi nodded dumbly, unsure of what else to do.
First question. When did you start perceiving spirits?
3 years ago?
But when? What was the inciting incident?
Remi's mind skittered, for a second, to the memory, and suddenly a flash of panic stole through his system like lightning. He shot away from the window, spine going straight as he shut the thought out with practiced speed. I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, save that for your master, I guess.
Doug said cautiously.
At least I have your attention now. Do you really know nothing about the work?
Why do I feel like you're saying that word with a capital W?
Because I am. Are you not going to answer this question either?
No, I don't know anything about the work, he said mockingly. How would I know anything if all the information is hoarded here?
No one in your family is a collector. It's usually genetic.
Well, if anyone has it, they aren't talking about it.
3 years ago, so what, you were like 10?
12.
How have you been helping souls cross if you don't even have any training?
Another irritated shrug. I just lead them to water, and when a bridge appears, they walk across it.
They just go? Without you doing the greeting, reconciliation, the association?
You're just saying words that have no meaning to me.
I mean, they just go. Seriously? How do you get the dead to do anything at all without those steps?
Well, I find it helps if they don't know they're dead. The silence that followed that statement was heavy and long. Remi turned to look at Doug. The man was staring at him in abject horror.
You send them alone? And uninformed?
I am alone and uninformed. I made my own rules, Remi snapped. But he stopped whatever he was about to say.
Fine. Okay, so you crossed primarily by water. Why didn't you send Lucinda?
I tried. It didn't work this time.
How did it not work?
Well, the bridge appeared and she started to cross it, but when I was walking away, I heard...
Wait, you were walking away? Before she crossed?
I made my own rules, Remi repeated through gritted teeth. And those rules included not staying with dead people any longer than absolutely necessary.
But you have to...
Nope, Remi cut in.
No, seriously, you have to...
No, I didn't have to do anything other than my best to survive. And that's been working for me. When it looked like Doug would try to correct him again, Remi pushed on. But this time, I couldn't do that because something was blocking her path. Doug's breath stuttered. He cocked his head to the side in confusion.
I'm sorry, what?